Well, hi there. So in this video, we're going to be taking a look at lecture 6.2 Unemployment 2. And so my apologies that this one didn't upload it correctly initially, but this one's quite short, so hopefully that's a good thing for you. We already talked about how there's really kind of two groups of people, the unemployed and the employed, who are part of the civilian labor force. Within the unemployed, though, we categorize them in three different ways: cyclical, structural, and frictional. And that's what this video is all about. So we'll kind of start with looking at, sorry, let me move my slide forward here a little bit. We'll start with the cyclical folks. And I know there's a lot of words here, so I'm just going to kind of summarize what this says. The cyclically unemployed folks are unemployment caused by the business cycle. So in this one, we would say that this is recessions, right? Recessions. And the demand for labor goes down because the demand for goods and services also went down, right? So that goes back to the factor markets that we learned about. So if we have cyclical unemployment, we would say we are in a recession. So if you had capital and consumer goods, you would be somewhere beneath the PPC, right? If you have no cyclical unemployment, then you are here, right? No cyclical. So some point on the curve, cyclical, a point on the curve means you don't have any cyclical unemployment. If you're below the curve, you have cyclical unemployment. The other two types of unemployment are what we call natural unemployment, right? Or the normal kind of unemployment. So frictional is generic unemployment. Generic unemployment. So we could say layoffs, not recession related. So these would be like if your company is not doing very well, or if you got fired, or if you quit, or if you just graduated and took a new job, right? Or if you just said, you know, I want to move from one place to another or something along those lines. Seasonal work is another example. So if you're a roofer or a mall Santa or, you know, a resort worker or something like that. So that's all frictional unemployment. And this is why we would consider this to be natural to have some, because it wouldn't be normal to have zero, right? You would want to be able to preserve the ability of the market system and labor to have people graduate from college without having a job. Japan actually struggled with that for a really long time, and it causes issues. So we want to have some level of frictional unemployment. The other type of unemployment that's normal is structural, and this is caused by changes in the structure, hence the name structural, changes in the structure of the labor market, and I am totally ignoring all these dots, labor market, such that the quantity demanded is less than the quantity supplied for labor. And so we would say, if we kind of drew a picture of what that looked like, I'm just going to draw it down here, we got some space. We'd have wage, quantity of labor, supply of labor, and demand for labor. And normally you would have kind of an equilibrium here. But if there was maybe a contract from a union contract that said the wage will be here, wage, right, set here as opposed to at the equilibrium, you would have a mismatch between the quantity supplied and the quantity demanded. And so the quantity demanded would be how many actually do get hired, but then you have a mismatch, a gap, right? And that gap is structural unemployment. You could also have this be because of a minimum wage. We talked about minimum wages before in a simplistic fashion, causing unemployment. They cause structural unemployment. Another type, so we'd say min wage, right? Union contract, union contract. Another type of structural unemployment would be as if there's no demand for the type of work you do. So if maybe there was a technology change, and this could be that you were replaced by robots, or maybe something changed about the structure of our economy that people don't want what you do anymore. So hostlers and drovers, right, and blacksmiths. People used to take care of horses, basically. They're not as in demand anymore because people started driving cars. So they weren't replaced by robots, but the technology, basically, of the world changed. And so structurally, they were out of work. So that's what we call structural unemployment. And so this is also considered to be kind of a normal thing as well. Here's examples of all of these things, and I told you several of them as well: bank tellers, colliers, hostlers, drovers, that kind of thing. This is Joseph Schumpeter, The Gale of Creative Destruction, talking about basically structural unemployment, saying that our economy is the process, constantly going through this process of industrial mutation that incessantly revolutionizes the economic structure from within, incessantly destroying the old and incessantly creating a new. And so we don't want to resist structural unemployment, but we do want to take care of those people who are structurally unemployed, right? So we don't want to say no thank you to any of these technological changes and these sorts of things, but we need to develop something to help folks who are affected by structural unemployment. When we add these two together, we get what's called the natural rate of unemployment, structural plus frictional. For the United States, it's about 4. For the EU, it's about 8. Your book in module 11 goes into some detail that I think is really interesting about why, right? So the why is in module 11. And I would encourage you to check that out a little bit because it is interesting about why different economies have different structures with that. And it probably wouldn't be terribly surprising. Okay, so I'm sorry that this one didn't upload the first time, and hopefully it helped you. See you next time.